"Mom, I've decided to move back in, and my wife is coming with me." Those were the exact words that came out of my son's mouth when I opened the door that Thursday afternoon. He didn't ask if he could. He didn't warn me ahead of time. He just showed up with two large suitcases, a backpack slung over his shoulder, and that familiar smile he always wore when he needed something from me. Chloe stood right behind him, wearing dark sunglasses even though the sun was already setting. She studied my house as if she were inspecting every corner, every wall, every detail she didn't approve of. I didn't say anything in that moment. I simply took a step back and let them walk in. But something deep inside me, something that had been dormant for years, started to stir with an uneasiness I couldn't ignore. I'm 70 years old. 70 years I've given everything I had to this family. 70 years of putting others first, of cooking, cleaning, caring, and saving every single penny so my children could have what I never did. My husband passed away 5 years ago. When he left, I thought my life had died right along with him. For months, I didn't know who I was without being someone's wife, without being the mother everyone relied on. But slowly, with the help of my friend Joyce, I started to rebuild myself. I truly learned how to use my cell phone, not just for receiving calls. Now I have WhatsApp, Facebook, even an Instagram account where I upload pictures when I go out with my friends. I go to the salon every 2 weeks. I get my nails done and color my hair a vibrant chestnut brown that makes me feel alive. I walk in the park every morning with a group of women who, like me, decided that life doesn't end when you hit 60. Last year, I took an online baking course. I made new friends. I started living for myself, not just for everyone else. This house is mine. I bought it with my husband's life insurance money and the savings I tucked away over 30 years of working part-time at a fabric store. I chose every brick, every window, and every plant in the front garden. It's small, just 2 bedrooms, a spacious living room, a kitchen, and a backyard patio where I keep my potted flowers that I tend to every single morning. But it's mine. No one gifted it to me. No one did me a favor by handing it over. I paid for it. I decorated it, and I decided on every single thing inside it. For these 5 years, I had lived here alone and in peace. My son Marcus used to visit every 2 or 3 months, always in a hurry, always asking to borrow money he never returned, always with that look of a son who knows his mother will never tell him no. But never had he shown up like this, with suitcases and without asking first. When they came in, Chloe didn't even greet me properly. She just gave a quick hello, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, and started walking around the living room as if she were in an unfamiliar house that needed to be inspected. She paused in front of the cream-colored sofa with floral cushions that I bought 2 years ago and absolutely love, and she wrinkled her nose. Marcus dropped the suitcases in the middle of the room and gave me a quick, automatic hug, the kind people use when they want to seem affectionate but are really thinking about something else. "Mom, we needed a change," he said, pulling away and glancing toward the kitchen. "Things weren't working out at the apartment, and we thought it'd be good to stay here with you for a while." Chloe nodded without looking at me. "Just for a while," she repeated, but the tone of her voice didn't sound temporary. It sounded final. I didn't ask them what happened. I didn't ask them why they hadn't called first. I didn't tell them that I would have preferred a warning, even just one day, to prepare myself, to think, to decide if this was something I even wanted. I just nodded, just as I always had, and told them they could stay in the room I used for storage. Marcus smiled with relief. Chloe finally took off her sunglasses and looked directly at me for the first time. "Thanks, Alara," she said, using my first name, not mom, not mother-in-law, just my name, as if we were co-workers. "We're going to need closet space," she added, and then turned away to continue her inspection. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of my own house that now felt different. I could hear Marcus and Chloe's voices through the wall, talking in low tones, laughing every once in a while. At some point, I heard Chloe mention something about changing the furniture, and Marcus responded that yes, There were a lot of old things that were useless now. They didn't say my name, but I felt like they were talking about me too, as if I were part of the inventory of things that needed an update. I got up, went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and stood there in the dark, feeling something I hadn't felt in my own house since I bought it. I felt like an intruder. I felt uncomfortable. I felt small. The next day, I woke up early as usual. I showered, dressed in a pair of jeans and a pink blouse I like, combed my hair, and went out for my morning walk. Joyce was already waiting for me in the park with her coffee thermos and that huge smile she always has. "Alara, it's a miracle you got here on time," she said, hugging me. "Usually, I'm the one waiting." I told her everything as we walked. I told her Marcus had shown up unannounced, that he'd brought Chloe, and that they had settled in as if the house belonged to them. Joyce stopped walking and looked at me seriously. "And what did you say?" she asked. "Nothing," I replied. "I didn't say anything." Joyce shook her head. "Alara, that house is yours. You paid for it. You decide who lives there." "I know," I said. "But I couldn't tell my own son no." Joyce sighed. "Honey, sometimes the problem isn't that we can't say no. The problem is that no one ever taught us we had the right to." I got back home 2 hours later. When I opened the door, the sight that greeted me froze me in my tracks. Chloe had moved my furniture. My cream-colored sofa was pushed against a different wall. My floral cushions were piled in a corner. The coffee table where I always put my teacup and magazines was out on the patio. Marcus was hanging a huge painting on the main wall, a modern piece with gray and black lines that I absolutely hated. Chloe was standing in the middle of the room with her hands on her hips, directing everything like she was an interior designer. "Oh, Alara, you're here," she said when she saw me. "We're making a few minor changes, just to make the space feel a little fresher, more current. Hope you don't mind." I looked at my cushions tossed in the corner. I looked at my displaced sofa. I looked at the horrible painting Marcus was hanging on the wall where I had a family photo I loved. Something inside me wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them that this was my house and no one had the right to move anything without asking me. But I just smiled, that automatic smile I'd perfected over decades, and said, "It's fine. Do whatever you need to do." Chloe smiled, satisfied, and went back to giving orders. The days started to blur, and my house stopped feeling like my house. Every morning I woke up expecting to find something else changed, something else moved, something else that no longer belonged to me. Chloe had taken over the kitchen. She moved my plates to cabinets that were too high for me. She put her own expensive pots and pans where I kept mine. And every time I tried to cook something, she'd appear with that half-smile of hers and say, "Alara, let me handle this. You've done enough cooking for a lifetime. Just rest." It sounded considerate, but the tone wasn't. It was as if she were telling me I was useless now, that my time in that kitchen was over. Marcus wasn't helping either. He spent most of the day on the sofa looking at his phone. Sometimes he'd go out and come back late. He never explained where he went. When I asked him if he was job hunting, he'd just say, "Mom, I'm working on it. Don't worry." But I was worried. I was worried because he wasn't paying for anything, wasn't helping with the expenses, and every time I went to the grocery store, I noticed my money was disappearing faster than normal. One afternoon, while Chloe was in the shower and Marcus was out, I took the opportunity to check the pantry. Almost everything I had bought the week before was gone. In its place were things Chloe had brought, expensive brands I never bought because I couldn't afford them. I opened the refrigerator and saw the same thing. Organic yogurts, imported cheeses, cold-pressed juices that cost 3 times the usual price. I felt a knot in my stomach. I live on a modest pension and the money I saved over years. I couldn't afford to maintain these kinds of expenses. But when Chloe came out of the bathroom, walking past the kitchen with her hair wrapped in a towel, I didn't say a word. I just closed the refrigerator and went to my room. That night, lying in bed trying to sleep, I heard voices again. They were coming from the living room. I got up slowly and approached my bedroom door without making a sound. Marcus and Chloe were talking. "Don't shout," Chloe was saying. "Your mother might hear." Marcus replied with something I couldn't quite catch, but then Chloe spoke clearly, her voice sharp. "This house is perfect for us. It's in a good neighborhood. It's a decent size, and the best part is we're not paying rent." I felt the air rush out of my lungs. Marcus said something about me, something that sounded like, "But it's her house." Chloe chuckled softly. "For now," she said. "But think about it, Marcus. Your mother is 70 years old. She won't live forever. And when she passes, this house will be yours anyway. Why wait? We can start doing things our way now." "She won't say anything." "She never says anything." I stood frozen behind the door. Chloe's words echoed in my head, an unstoppable refrain. "She won't live forever. We can do things our way. She won't say anything. She never says anything." Something broke inside me. Something that had been holding me together for years. It wasn't just pain. It was clarity. It was the naked truth staring me down with nowhere left to hide. My son hadn't come to visit me. He hadn't come to take care of me. He had come to squat in my house, to wait for me to die, and to take what I had built without giving me any respect. And I, as always, was letting it happen. I went back to bed, but I couldn't sleep all night. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling my body shake with a mixture of rage, sadness, and something else I couldn't quite name. I didn't cry. I had learned a long time ago that tears don't change anything. But I did make a decision that night. A quiet, cold, clear decision. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to make a scene. And I wasn't going to beg them to respect me. I was going to act. I was going to take back my life, my house, and my dignity. And I was going to do it the only way that works with people who don't understand words, with action. The next day, I got up as usual, showered, got ready, and had a cup of plain coffee because there was no more bread. Chloe had finished it all and hadn't bought more. I put on a crisp white blouse and my favorite jeans. I grabbed my purse and left the house without telling anyone where I was going. I walked 3 blocks to the office of attorney Lena Davis, a lawyer I had met the year before at a senior rights course I took at the community center. Lena was a woman in her 50s, direct, intelligent, with the energy of someone who won't be intimidated by anything or anyone. When I entered her office, she looked up from her computer and smiled. "Ilara, what a surprise. Is everything okay?" "No," I replied, sitting across from her. "Nothing is okay, and I need your help." I told her everything, every single detail. Marcus's unannounced arrival, Chloe's invasion, the changes to my house, the conversation I had overheard the night before. Lena listened without interrupting, taking notes occasionally and nodding her head. When I finished, she placed her pen on the desk and looked me directly in the eyes. "Ilara, is the deed to your house in your name?" "Yes," I replied. "Everything is in my name. My husband left everything to me in his will." "Good," Lena said. "That's the first thing we needed to confirm. Now, have you signed any documents lately? Any power of attorney, any authorization, anything Marcus or Chloe might have asked you to sign?" I shook my head. "No, nothing." Lena breathed a sigh of relief. "Perfect. Then legally, your house is still completely yours, and no one can take it from you. But we need to act fast before they try anything else." She explained everything calmly. She said the first thing I had to do was secure my important documents, deeds, birth certificates, bank papers. Everything had to be in a safe place where Marcus and Chloe couldn't get to it. She also suggested changing my bank passwords, especially if Marcus knew any of them. Then she told me about something I hadn't considered, Cameras. Elara, Lena said, you need to document what's happening in your house. If they're making changes without your permission, if they're acting like owners, you need proof. You can buy small, discreet cameras that record everything. If this turns into a legal matter, those recordings are going to be crucial. I nodded, absorbing every word. And after that? I asked. After that, Lena said, you're going to do something I know will be hard for you, but it's necessary. You're going to confront them, not with screaming or drama. You're going to tell them calmly and firmly that they have to leave. And if they won't go peacefully, we will force them out legally, with a court order if necessary. I left Lena's office with a clear plan in my head and a strange feeling in my chest. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't peace. It was determination. For 70 years, I had let others decide for me, let others take what they wanted from me without asking. I had smiled when I wanted to scream. I had accepted when I wanted to refuse. I had kept silent when I had so much to say. But that was over. The woman who walked out of that office was no longer the same woman who had opened the door days ago and let her son walk in without question. I got home with a pharmacy bag in my hand. Inside, there were no medicines. There were 2 small security cameras I had bought at an electronics store near Lena's office. The clerk explained how they worked, how they connected to Wi-Fi, and how I could watch everything on my cell phone in real time. I felt strange buying them, as if I were doing something wrong, as if spying on my own house were a crime. But then I remembered Chloe's words. She won't say anything. She never says anything. And the strangeness turned into conviction. When I entered, the house was silent. Marcus wasn't there. Chloe was in the living room on the phone, laughing at something someone was saying on the other end. She didn't even turn to look at me as I passed. I went straight to my room, locked the door, and took out the cameras. I read the instructions twice to be sure. I installed the app on my phone, connected the cameras to the Wi-Fi, and waited for the green signal that indicated everything was working. When I saw my own room on my phone screen, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. Relief because now I would have proof of whatever happened. Sadness because I had reached the point of needing cameras in my own house to protect myself from my own son. I waited for Chloe to leave the living room. I heard her go to the bathroom and close the door. I rushed out of my room with one of the cameras hidden in my hand. I placed it on a high shelf in the living room, behind a decorative vase I had bought at a craft market years ago. From that angle, the camera covered the entire living room and part of the kitchen. No one would notice it unless they knew exactly where to look. I hurried back to my room just as I heard Chloe leaving the bathroom. My heart was pounding so hard I thought she might hear it, but nothing happened. Chloe went back to the living room and continued with her day as if nothing had changed. I saved the second camera for later. I didn't know where to put it yet, but I knew I would need it. I sat on my bed and opened the app on my phone. There was the live feed of my living room. Chloe was sitting on my sofa, now positioned where she wanted it, looking at her phone. Everything looked so normal from the outside, but I knew the truth. I knew what she thought of me, and I knew what she was waiting for. That afternoon, Joyce sent me a text. "How are you holding up, girl? Did you talk to your son yet?" I replied that not yet, but I was working on a plan. She sent me an audio message. "I've known you for over 20 years. I know you're strong, but I also know that sometimes you use that strength to tolerate things you shouldn't. Don't let them take what's yours. Don't let them make you feel like you're overreacting. You have a right to your own house, to your own peace. If you need me to go with you to talk to them, I'll go. You are not alone." Her words made me feel something I hadn't felt in days. Warmth, support, the certainty that even though Marcus had disappointed me, there were still people in my life who valued me. The following days were a constant performance. I continued to be the same outwardly. Good morning, good afternoon, automatic smiles, silent nods. But inside, everything had changed. I watched Marcus and Chloe's every move. I listened to every conversation. I constantly checked my phone to see the camera recordings, and what I saw confirmed everything I needed to know. One morning, while I was walking with Joyce at the park, I checked the live feed on my phone. Chloe was measuring the living room windows with a tape measure. Marcus was next to her, taking notes on his phone. I heard Chloe say, "These awful curtains have to go. We're going to get modern blinds, the kind you control with a remote." I showed the video to Joyce. She shook her head in disbelief. "Ilara, this is beyond disrespectful. This is a full-blown invasion. They're redecorating your house as if it already belongs to them. You have to stop them." "I know," I replied, "and I will. But not yet. I need more evidence. I need them to fully expose themselves." That afternoon, Chloe did something that chilled me to the bone. She came home with a man I didn't know, dressed in a business shirt and carrying a briefcase. She sat him down in my living room, offered him coffee she made in my kitchen, and started showing him photos on her phone. I was in my room, watching everything on the camera with the volume low but loud enough to hear. The man was a real estate agent. Chloe was showing him pictures of my house from different angles. "We're thinking of listing it in a few months," Chloe was saying with that sweet voice she used when she wanted to get something. "We want to know how much we could get for it. The neighborhood is good, the nearby schools have a good reputation, and the house is in excellent condition." "Well, it needs some updates," the man said, looking around. "But it definitely has potential. I'd say we could list it between $180,000 and $200,000, depending on how much you invest in renovations before selling." I felt my blood boil. Chloe was appraising my house. My house. The house I bought with my money, my hard work, my years of labor and savings. And she was sitting right there on my sofa, planning to sell it as if the papers were already signed, as if I no longer existed. The agent left her a business card and told her to call him when they were ready. As soon as the door closed, Chloe picked up her phone and called someone. "Did you talk to the appraiser?" Marcus asked from the other end. "Yes," Chloe replied. "He says we could get up to $200,000 if we make a few improvements. With that money, we could buy something better, bigger, in a newer area." "And my mother?" Marcus asked. Chloe sighed as if the question were an annoyance. "Marcus, we've talked about this. Your mother will be fine. There are very nice senior living residences for people her age, places where she'll be looked after, where she'll have company, where she won't have to worry about a thing. It'll be better for her too. You know that." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Yeah, you're right. It's best for everyone." I saved the video. I saved it with the date, the time, and every word they said. Lena had told me I needed proof. Now I had it. Clear, direct, undeniable proof that my son and daughter-in-law were planning to take my house, sell it, and put me in a residence without even consulting me, without caring what I wanted, without caring that this house was the only thing I had left after a lifetime of sacrifice. I didn't have dinner with them that night. I told them I wasn't feeling well and was going to rest. I closed my bedroom door and sat on my bed with my phone in my hand. I sent the video to Lena. She replied in minutes, "Ilara, this is gold. With this, we can prove intent to commit fraud and abuse. Are you ready to act?" I replied, "Yes." I was more ready than I had ever been in my entire life. 3 more days passed, and I continued to act as if I didn't know anything, as if I hadn't heard their plans, as if I didn't have recordings of every word they spoke when they thought I wasn't around. I still got up early, made my coffee, went for my walk, and returned to a house that looked less and less like mine every day. Chloe had brought more things: new throw pillows, new artwork, even a modern floor lamp she put in the corner of the living room that cost more than I spent on groceries in a month. Marcus was still unemployed, still not contributing anything, still spending his days sprawled on the sofa or going out without saying where he went. One afternoon, while I was in my room organizing my important documents into a folder that I planned to take to Joyce's house for safekeeping, I heard raised voices in the living room. Chloe and Marcus were arguing. I opened the camera app on my phone and turned up the volume. Marcus, we've been here almost 3 weeks, and you haven't done any of what you promised, Chloe was saying in a tone I had never heard her use before. You were supposed to talk to your mother about the house, to test the waters, to start preparing her for the idea. I know, Chloe, but it's not that easy, Marcus replied. She's my mom. I can't just walk in and tell her we want to sell her house. Of course you can, Chloe interrupted. You just need to find the right words. Tell her it's for her own good, that a house this big is too much for her alone, that she'll be better cared for in a residence. Make her feel like it's her idea. Marcus sighed. I don't know if that's going to work. You don't know her like I do. When she gets something in her head, she's stubborn. Chloe laughed, but it wasn't a kind laugh. Marcus, your mother is 70 years old. She has spent her whole life doing what other people told her to do. She's been the obedient wife, the sacrificing mother, the woman who never says no. She's not going to start changing now. You just have to pressure her a little. Make her feel guilty if you have to. Remind her of everything you've done for her, even if it's not true. People in her generation run on guilt. Marcus fell silent. I was sitting on my bed, clutching my phone so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Hearing my own son remain silent while his wife described me as a manipulable old woman, as someone without a will of her own, as an obstacle that just needed to be moved with the right words, was worse than any direct insult. Fine, Marcus finally said. I'll talk to her tomorrow. Perfect, Chloe responded, and then added something more. And Marcus, when you talk to her, remember this isn't just for us, it's for you too. That house is worth a lot of money. It's your inheritance. Why wait until she's gone to enjoy it? We can sell it now, buy something better, and we all win. Even her, because she'll have everything paid for in a nice residence. Marcus mumbled something I couldn't hear, but I knew from his tone that he had completely given in. I saved the video. Another one for the collection. Another proof of who they really were. I couldn't sleep again that night, not because of sadness this time, but because of something different. Contained rage, indignation, and the absolute clarity of knowing that my son, the son I raised, fed, clothed, and worked overtime for years so he could go to good schools, that son saw me as a means to get money. And his wife, who came and went from my house as if she were the owner, saw me as nothing more than an obstruction to their plans. The next day, I got up earlier than usual. I dressed carefully. I put on a simple beige dress that made me feel dignified. I styled my hair well. I put on the pearl earrings my husband gave me on our 25th anniversary. I looked in the mirror and saw a 70-year-old woman who was still standing, who still had strength, who still had a voice, even if she hadn't used it in a long time. Today I would use it. I left my room and found Marcus alone in the kitchen, drinking coffee. Chloe was still asleep. Perfect. I wanted to talk to him alone first. Morning, Mom, he said without looking up, his eyes glued to his phone. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat across from him at the small kitchen table. Marcus, we need to talk, I said in a quiet but firm voice. He looked up, surprised by my tone. Sure. Mom. About what? He asked, trying to sound casual, but I saw the nervousness in his eyes. About this situation, I replied. About you two living here. Marcus put his phone down on the table. Mom, if it's about money, I can help you out as soon as I find work. I'm waiting on a few calls. Some opportunities look good. It's not about the money, Marcus, I interrupted. It's about everything else. It's about how you showed up without warning. It's about how you've changed my house without asking me. It's about how Chloe treats this place like it's hers. Marcus frowned. Mom, we were just trying to help, to make the space look more modern, more comfortable for everyone. I didn't ask for help, I said, my voice still calm, but every word came out with weight. This is my house, Marcus. I bought it. I paid for it. I decide how it looks, what's in it, and who lives in it. Marcus went pale. Mom, you're my mother. How can I not be able to stay in your house when I need to? You can stay when you ask me with respect, when you consult me first, and when you understand that this isn't a hotel where you can just show up and settle in. Marcus stood up from the chair. He was getting agitated. I can't believe you're saying this. What happened to you? You've never been like this. Exactly, I replied, looking him straight in the eye. I've never been like this, and that was my mistake. My mistake was letting everyone do whatever they wanted with me, with my time, with my things, with my life. But that's over, Marcus. Chloe appeared in the kitchen doorway at that moment, still in her pajamas, hair a mess. What's going on in here? She asked, annoyed. Marcus looked at her, pleading for help. My mother is saying she doesn't want us here. Chloe looked at me with an expression that tried to be surprise but was really annoyance. Ilara, are you serious? After everything Marcus has done for you, this is how you repay him. I stared at her without blinking. What exactly has Marcus done for me, Chloe? Visiting me every 3 months, asking to borrow money he never returns, showing up at my house without warning, and treating it as if it were his? Enlighten me, please. Chloe opened her mouth to answer, but I stopped her. No, wait. Let me tell you what I do know. I know you brought a property appraiser to my house. I know you're planning to sell it. I know you're already thinking of putting me in a residence without asking me. I know everything, Chloe. Everything. The silence that followed was absolute. Marcus froze. Chloe stared at me with wide eyes, trying to process how I could possibly know that. Chloe was the first to recover from the shock. Her face changed from surprise to something harder, more calculating. I don't know what you're talking about, Ilara. I think you're confused. At your age, it's normal for things to sometimes get mixed up in your head. I felt a surge of fury at her attempt to make me seem senile, as if my age were a disease that prevented me from thinking clearly. I'm not confused, Chloe. I have proof, recordings of everything. Of every conversation you've had in this house, thinking I wasn't listening. Of the appraiser you brought. Of your plans to sell my house. Everything. Marcus took a step back as if my words were a physical blow. Mom, you recorded us? How could you do that? His tone was one of indignation, as if I were the one who had done something wrong. How could I? That's easy to answer, Marcus, I said, getting up from the chair, feeling my voice finally come out with all the strength I had been holding back for weeks. I could because this is my house. Because I have the right to know what's happening in my own home. Because you came here without permission. You've been acting like owners. You've been planning to take the only thing I have. And you thought I was too old, too weak, and too submissive to notice. Chloe crossed her arms over her chest. This is ridiculous. You can't kick us out. Marcus is your son. What kind of mother throws her own child out onto the street? The kind of mother who is tired of being treated like she doesn't matter, I replied. The kind of mother who understands that love doesn't mean allowing disrespect. The kind of mother who finally decided that her life is worth something too. Marcus ran his hands through his hair, visibly agitated. Mom, if you knew all this, why didn't you say anything sooner? Why did you wait so long? Because I needed to be sure, I replied. I needed to have proof. I needed to know exactly who you were before I acted. And now I know. Chloe let out a bitter laugh. Fine, you caught us. Now what? Are you going to call the police? Are you going to kick us out like we're criminals? We're your family. No, I interrupted, looking directly at her. You are not my family. You are someone who married my son, and the only thing you've done since you came into my house is disrespect me and plan how to rob me. And Marcus, I turned to him, you stopped being the son I knew the day you decided that my house was worth more than my dignity. Marcus's eyes were red, whether from rage or shame, I couldn't tell. Mom, everything got out of hand. At first, we just wanted a place to stay while we looked for something better. But Chloe started talking about opportunities, investments, and how this house was worth a lot and was being wasted. I never wanted to hurt you. So Chloe was the one who convinced you, I said, feeling a mixture of disappointment and clarity. Marcus didn't respond, but his silence said it all. Chloe didn't defend herself either. She just looked at me with that cold expression that I now recognized as her true face. You have 1 week to leave, I said in a firm voice. 1 week to pack your things and leave my house exactly as it was before you arrived. If you don't, I will proceed legally. I have an attorney. I have the proof. And I have every right in the world to reclaim my space. Chloe took a step toward me. You can't do this to us. We have nowhere to go. You should have thought about that before you planned to sell my own house, I replied without backing down. Where you go is not my problem. Getting out of here is. Marcus tried to approach me, but